All right, joining us now, friend of the show, dare I say best friend of the show, Sanjit T, joining us now. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing really, really well. How are you guys doing?
Good,
awesome.
Good.
It's an exciting time. So recording this Wednesday around noon. Literally the roster is fluctuating by the second with the final 53 getting announced yesterday and then practice squad guys getting signed. We'll get into like all the nitty gritty, but when they announced the 53, there were some surprising cuts. There were some surprising signings. Like, what was your biggest takeaway when they announced the initial 53 yesterday?
Yeah. One of the things I felt right away is that I hate the rule in which if you have players that are hurt and you want to put them on the short-term IR, you have to keep them part of the 53.
The roster. Yeah.
And, I almost feel like now, if you guys haven't seen, Carl Joseph is signed with the Steelers. The Steelers have added him to their practice squad. I felt like the Raiders should have kept him around. Now, I don't know what the reasoning is. I'm sure we'll get, that.
We play them week 2.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Exactly. So it'll be interesting to kind of see what happens there. But like, even then, kind of how the roster shaped out, like we have 8 offensive linemen on the active roster. Is that enough offensive linemen? Like what happens if we get 2 guards to go down? Yeah. What happens if we get 2 guards to go down? It happened last week, I believe, or last year against the Dolphins, I believe. We had 2 guards go down. What happens? What do the Raiders do?
Yeah, can Alec Ingold play guard? Like we're screwed. Like that's what makes me and that's what's always like. That's why they call it the initial 53 because, like you said, they've got to here's 53, and then we do our IR guys. Then we'll see where you are on the waiver wire, and then we'll see who we let send up for the practice squad, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, like when I'm looking at like the initial 53 now, you're like, okay, 8 offensive linemen. All of our linebackers are hurt. Like this is kind of scary. We only got 5 wide receivers. They'll probably sign. I imagine they'll find a 6th in there. They also probably need a 4th tight end too, because you run a lot.
Don't be so fast. Don't be so fast about that 6th wide receiver, because Darren Waller basically is our X. He's our best X receiver, and he played a lot of X receiver last year. So don't be too sure on that 6th receiver.
Anyway, like there's definitely like obvious holes in our roster.
Yeah.
So I'm not like overly worried that we're going to go into Monday night against the Ravens with only 8 offensive linemen. I'm just super worried who that 9th and 10th lineman is. Yeah. If they're not even on the initial 53, how bad are they going to be? O-line depth I didn't realize it till now, probably my biggest concern now.
Yeah, well, so one of the things is we did sign 3 offensive linemen to the practice squad. Jimmy Morrissey, the center, rookie center, Lester Cotton, who's the 3rd-year player, and then Jeremiah Patasi, I think that's how you say his last name, which I'm actually surprised we brought him back because I felt like he was not ready. I felt like he's at least a year or 2 away from being ready, but, we'll see what happens there. And one of the interesting things is this year specifically, when game week comes around, you can activate 2 practice squad guys without having to cut them and have them go through the waiver wire. So we can always activate Jimmy Morrissey and Lester Cotton every single week, and we won't lose them. So we do have that option, even at receiver, right? You mentioned we have 5 guys right now. We brought back Dylan Stoner and DJ Turner. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to kind of see what happens. Plus, we're also going to get some of these players to go on short-term IR. We have 3 quarterbacks right now. I don't think we're going to go into week 1 with 3 quarterbacks. I kind of feel like John Gruden's going to use that Mariota sore knee excuse and go ahead and just list him as a short-term IR. It's going to be interesting. Very, very interesting what we end up doing when the Ravens week comes around.
Yeah, the quarterback's a weird situation because you definitely don't want Peterman to be your 2nd string quarterback. But Mariota gets hurt so much, you have to have an insurance policy for your insurance policy. It's like This Mariota experience has been such a clusterfuck.
Yeah, I said it last week. Your backup quarterback needs to be 2 things. He needs to be steady and he needs to be tough. Because behind him, you have a Broncos situation where you have an ex-quarterback who plays receiver now going out there and taking snaps. Yep. So Mariota is not steady. He's flashy and he can have some lulls, and he's not durable. He's not especially durable. So it's a head scratcher. Going back to the offensive line though, I'm not encouraged by having any of those players being called up on game day from the practice squad. Yeah. Like you said, Morrissey's really not ready. Patasi really hasn't shown much. And Lester Cotton got abused by backups against the 49ers this last game. So that's not making me feel too much better about our offensive line depth. So maybe some of the guys around the league who were talking about our offensive line being an issue when we were telling them to shut the hell up, maybe they knew something that we didn't at the time, because that and linebacker is something that's like, I mean, we got two guys now that have never played linebacker in the NFL before who are looking to get a lot of, snaps with Morrow and Lee going to be gone for a little while. I mean, KJ Wright's still out there. That's someone that you got Perryman's going to come in and play. Is that something that you think about doing?
Yeah, I don't think the Raiders should get KJ Wright. The thing with KJ Wright is he's really he's the same position that Tanner Muse plays. Right, KJ Wright is a strong side linebacker. He lines up on the line of scrimmage, or at least a yard or two off the line of scrimmage, kind of what Tanner Muse has been doing. If you bring in KJ Wright and you think he's going to play middle linebacker for the Raiders, it's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. I think the Raiders brought in Denzel Perryman for that exact reason, right? You got Perryman, you have Kwiatkowski. Those two guys will most likely be the middle linebackers. Max Richardson, the rookie, who I've seen mixed opinions of him. I don't think he was great, right? I don't know if it was Raheem Mostert or someone else. I think stiff armed him on one play and then he got trucked on another play. But I will say he still had a ton of tackles. He was still making good reads, and he is still just a rookie, right? He's going to get better, right? Raheem Mostert's a starter in the league, and he's a good running back. So I think if we needed, Max Richardson could be that third middle linebacker if we needed him before a game. In terms of outside linebacker, outside of Corey Littleton, it is kind of scary because I like Javen White. I like what I saw from him in preseason. I don't know if Diablo's ready. Like I don't think he's ready, to be honest. I watched him against the Niners. He had a very, very difficult time shedding blocks and getting off those blocks. So I am concerned at that spot specifically. And that too, like, is Corey Littleton going to be healthy? Like, will he be healthy come week 1? And then will he be healthy when week 5 comes around? If Nicholas Morrow's not healthy or if Javen White's not healthy by then, what do the Raiders do?
Yeah, I with Divine Diablo, like I keep thinking he's better than he is because his name is so awesome. Divine Diablo, like, awesome, he's ready. Throw him in there. Divine. How can a guy with that name not be ready to play football? Yeah, I'm with you. The I was really looking forward to our depth this season, and yet right out of the gate, the injuries are already kind of piling up. As much as John Gruden's a Barney buzzkill in the preseason, not playing anybody, like points like this, you're kind of glad that he didn't. Carl Joseph, I think, was the biggest shock initially for not making the team. Partly because that was the first, that news broke first. We kind of find out early about Carl Joseph. Like, whoa, that's shocking. But to me, the whole John Brown situation is what I'm so flummoxed about. He came in what John Gruden and Derek Carr did for the career of Nelson Aguilar. He came in as that would be do a 1-year deal, make me a $22 million wide receiver somewhere else. Sign me up.
Yep.
But apparently he comes in, realizes he's going to be the 6th receiver, asks for a release, and the Raiders give him, cost us $1 million or something like that. But I don't understand that thought process. When Aguilar came in, he wasn't the number 1 receiver either. He only got playing time because Ruggs didn't really play as well as he should. Brian Edwards kept getting hurt, didn't play as well as he should. And he was able to shine because you got to throw it to somebody other than Darren Waller. Yep. And that was that guy. John Brown still could have done that. I still thought John, I'm not 100%. We have no reason to believe Brian Edwards and Henry Ruggs are going to 100% be ready this season. We're hoping they are. They're making progress. Derek Carr brings out the best in his receivers. So I'm optimistic, but if I'm John Brown, are you thinking there's no way I'm going to be able to beat these 2nd-year players and be a starter, or these guys will never get hurt again? I don't understand his thought process.
Yeah, it makes no sense, to be honest. To me, it kind of seems like John Brown didn't want to have to compete. To me, it seems like he just wanted a starting job handed to him. At the same time, let's be honest, John Brown came into this, when we signed him, he came in, and to me personally, I would say John Brown had every opportunity to be the Raiders' number 1 wide receiver, right? Maybe not in front of Ruggs, but he had the opportunity. And only that too, because of the fact that Ruggs is the 1st-round pick. But it's not anyone else's fault that Brian Edwards outperformed him in camp. Hunter Renfrow, Zay Jones, out of everybody, outperformed him in camp. Put the blame where it goes. Put that on John Brown. Don't blame somebody else for him not being able to win the job and only being the 6th wide receiver. At the same time, he didn't look explosive at all. Even when he played against the Niners, he was playing in the fourth quarter, I believe, against the Niners.
Yeah.
He should have been dominating those guys, right?
He had 2 yards.
Exactly. So that too, like, what team's going to want to sign him? At least, and again, I don't know exactly what his salary cap situation is. I don't know what he was going to make on the top of my head, but he might not play football this year, honestly, because how many teams at this point need a wide receiver? At the same time, how many teams won't have the cap to pay him, especially in this weird year, right, where cap went down?
Well, he got paid, I think, $3.25 million, and he's not on the roster, which is what the fuck. Yeah. Number one. Yeah. So there's I think there's like 4 big things that the whole John Brown saga here. Number one, he came in, he got outworked. I think everyone else outworked him. All the other people outworked him. He got outperformed. Right, the other guys not only they outwork him, but they played. I mean, if you get outworked as a veteran, okay, whatever, young guys, go ahead, outwork me. I'm still going to go out and in the joint practices and the games when I have time, I'm going to go out and shine.
Yep.
There's that, and he just didn't take it well. He didn't rise to the challenge and say, you know what, I can see these guys outworking me. Let me go ahead and match their work. Let me go ahead and do the. From all accounts, he just didn't do it.
Yep.
Not also, and I was telling RJ last week. Dylan Stoner was getting open against those backups. I don't know why John Brown wasn't getting open against those backups.
Yeah.
And those are, you want to put all that together. You want to pay a Dylan Stoner, $700,000, or you want to pay, a portion of John Brown's $3.25 million that he's going to get paid this year.
Yep.
It's so he did, like you said, he didn't look particularly explosive. He got 1 catch for 2 yards.
Yep.
Against the same guy. It wasn't like he was, Cook was throwing him the ball or whatever. It was fucking Peterman throwing everyone the ball. So
and the worst part of all this, we could have had Smoke and Stoner on the same wide receiver squad. Now we don't. Now we got one in practice squad and one's gone.
Yep.
Total shame.
Yeah, it's crazy because I also look at it like, did John Gruden say something to John Brown like before he signed, like, hey, you're going to be the number 1 guy? And then did he feel a certain type of way that, hey, maybe he lied to me? I heard some rumors about that. I don't know if any of that is true, that apparently John Gruden promised him. And you guys know that players have said stuff that John Gruden tells players one thing and then he does another thing. And I don't know if that's the case with John Brown. But it is an interesting thought.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up.
It wouldn't surprise me.
We just talked about that on last week's show when The Athletic does their survey of all the agents, and one of them said exactly that. John Gruden tells players something and just tells them what they want to hear, and they go. It's like, okay, but if that's what gets you, if you're at the negotiation table and you're trying to sway John Brown to sign with the Raiders, maybe sign for a little less money, and you say, yeah, you can be our Nelson Aguilar, you could be our number 1 receiver, you can revitalize your career here, and you say that, and that gets the agent or the player to take a little less money or give you a better deal, like, that's not malicious. That's just good business. And it's up to John Brown to be like, to not show up like it's a coronation. Like, he's still got to earn his spot like everyone else. And so, like, yeah, I have no issue, zero at all, if John Gruden like tells potential free agents, like, butters up the truth a little bit to get them to sign. And if they come here and realize, oh, it's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows. Yeah, no shit. It's an NFL team. Like, you were let go of your last team, right? Like, they didn't want you. You're going to have to earn your spot. And if you thought, well, nope, I'm just going to stroll into town into Vegas and they're all going to love me and I'm going to be the number 1 guy after doing nothing, then c'est la vie, John Brown. Sorry.
Well, the thing is, it's what you say is not as important as what the receiver receives, what they understand. And you can say kind of a double meaning, like, you know what, you come in here and you show me who you've been in the past and you're going to be our number 1 receiver. Well, to the receiver, he would say, oh, I'm going to come in here. I'm the same guy. I'm the same guy I've always been. I'm going to come in. I'm going to be the number 1 guy. Oh, he promised me I would be the number 1 guy, and now I don't even make the team. Mm-hmm. So you also have to take a look at it like that too.
Yeah, another thing that's interesting is John Brown, I forget who the reporter was. I think it was Tom Pelissaro. I don't know if I'm butchering his name, but I think he was the one that reported that John Brown asked for his release. It's like John Brown wasn't even going to make this roster. I don't know why he asked for his release. Like, I don't know if that was like the
agent trying to get the journal, like, hey, journalist, do me a favor, say that he asked for the release, so we don't
get the jump on it. Hey, look, I'm not gonna. It looks bad for me. Yeah, just go ahead and let me go now.
Exactly.
You can't fire me. I quit.
Exactly. But it's like he wasn't going to make the roster regardless. Another thing I do like about the fact that the Raiders cut him, and not even him, just Carl Joseph, is the fact that the Raiders are no longer messing around. Carl Joseph's a starting football player in this league. And for the Raiders not to keep him on the roster, we have 4 safeties better than him. That says something about the Raiders. And the league should notice, right? Other players, other teams, agents, whatever, they should notice that Carl Joseph's, he's not good enough to be on the Raiders roster. John Brown's not good enough to be on the Raiders roster. And it has nothing to do with those individual players. We just have players that are better.
Yeah.
I think, especially defensively, Gus Bradley, I think he's just saying, this is what I want my guys to be able to do. This is what I need them to do in order for my scheme and the team to be successful.
Yep.
Although he may work well in other schemes, he didn't do what we needed him to do here.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, with Gillespie and Teamer looking good in the preseason.
Teamer looked really good.
Oh, he looked real good.
Yeah.
I got the film from a friend of mine, and without having the all 22 film, and in preseason NFL Game Pass, they don't put the all 22 film out for preseason. Nice. You do not have access to the all 22. And I had a friend give me the Raiders film, and I watched Teamer. Like, I just watched the full game just to focus on him. I spent like an hour and 20 minutes just watching every single one of his plays. He looked good, man. And I'm very happy that the Raiders kept him around. Before camp, he was a guy that I thought would just be cut. But, once camp went along, after the first game, the second game, I thought, man, this guy has a real shot at making the roster and playing, right? Like, I would argue he's the number 3 safety right now, ahead of Tyree Gillespie.
I agree with that. Tyree Gillespie had some brutal angles this last game, and I'm like, ooh, Teamer's not going to make those mistakes. And if you're a backup, you don't need to make the big play. You just don't need to make the big mistake.
Absolutely. And that's such a big part, right? Is you can give up a 15-yard gain, a 10-yard gain. Just don't give up a touchdown. Not a
50-yard gain.
Yeah, not a 50-yard gain. Let the team drive downfield, because, the more plays they run, more chances it is that they're going to throw an interception or fumble or something happens for the defense.
And that's the Gus Bradley philosophy is,
absolutely.
Okay, we're gonna make you inch your way up, because the more you're going to have to be disciplined. And as much as people like to bang on Carr, and I'm one of them, for checking down so much, a lot of quarterbacks out there aren't as disciplined as Carr to be able to take that, and they want to push the ball even when it's not. And that's when a Gus Bradley team takes advantage.
Yeah, and that actually happened with the Seahawks on the Nate Hobbs interception. The Seahawks want to throw the ball deep. That's part of their philosophy, is getting vertical, getting downhill. And the thing is we kept forcing the quarterback in a check down after check down after check down. He had a guy wide open in the flats. Like, he could have hit a guy. The guy would have picked up 15 yards. Instead, he threw it deep into triple coverage. That ball was kind of underthrown a little bit, but that's what Gus Bradley wants. And that's how you stop a team like the Chiefs, right? And maybe the Chargers, we'll see how they kind of run their offense this year. But we force teams to drive downfield. I don't know how that's going to work against a team like the Ravens, who might be willing to take those, 4 or 5 yard gains. But with certain teams, it definitely is something that'll be an advantage for the Raiders.
Who is go ahead. All right, I'm going to go first. Who was the biggest surprise who made the 53 for you, Sanjit?
The biggest surprise that made the 53. I don't know if I'm necessarily surprised with Teamer making the 53. I kind of felt like I expected him to make the 53 after watching this film. Honestly, I didn't really have a bunch of surprises of people who made the 53. I would say I was more surprised with the cuts.
Yeah,
I was more surprised with the Carl Joseph cut than I was with any of the guys that actually made the 53-man roster. Honestly, we kind of expected a lot of these guys to make the 53. And I would say this, I don't know what's going on with the quarterbacks yet, but I guess Nathan Peterman making the 53 is kind of surprising. Let's be honest, if we cut Nathan Peterman today,
no one's picking his ass up.
Who's going to pick him up? Who wants him? Outside of a team saying like, hey, come over here and teach us John Gruden system, or give us some insight and some of his audibles and stuff like that. Who wants Nathan Peterman?
Yeah. Why isn't he on the practice squad? That's what I'm saying. It's not like someone's going to swoop him up. Like, why does Gruden give him $1 million every year to play 12 quarters in the preseason? Like, that's
because he wants to be right, and his name is John Gruden. That's why.
Yeah.
He's said his praises. He said sung Peterman's praises way too much for him to eat crow and say, hey, you know what? He just didn't cut the mustard.
I will say one guy that surprised me was Darius Philon. Not necessarily that he made the roster, but with his play. I would argue after Hankins and Gerald McCoy, Philon's the third best defensive tackle we have, at least from what I've seen on film.
Mine is Nick Bowers. That was the surprise to me. Only because
that shake. He shot that linebacker.
Exactly. Like, not that he's not good. It's just like, all right, our tight end room's too deep. Like, who they're not going to cut Derek Carrier. Like, come on, that's impossible. Yeah. Boy, did I look stupid. I literally tweeted that out when Nick Bowers made that touchdown on Saturday. I was like, damn, the Raiders tight end room is amazing. Like, got Waller, obviously. Foster Moreau would be a starter on over half the teams. Derek Carrier's our best blocker. Nick Bowers just did that, and there's no way he's making the squad. 3 days later, lo and behold, Nick Bowers is there and Derek Carrier is cut. Like, again, not that I guess that what that tells me is, like, as good as a blocker as Carrier was, they want a more dynamic pass catcher.
Yeah,
that would be Nick Bowers. Like, that's the only thing I can think of about, like, why they would make that move.
Yeah, it's interesting because I believe Nick Bowers, I don't know if he was with the Raiders last year, if we picked him up some point last year. But I believe we signed him like before the offseason began. Like, we told him we want you back with us. Instead of going somewhere else, another team picks you up. We want you with the Raiders. That too, like, I like Matt Bushman a ton, and I'm glad we brought him back to the practice squad. Matt Bushman's the rookie from BYU. He had more yards in his final year in college than did Noah Fant, and Noah Fant was a first-round pick.
Yeah,
not saying he'll be better than Fant, but the Raiders produce some good tight ends, man. I think John Gruden has a good eye for tight ends.
Yeah, Bowers is like a Foster Moreau light. He's not quite as polished as Moreau was coming out of college, because they had a better offense going from LSU, a better competition. But some of the way he moves, the way he moves after the catch, he makes these weird little moves that, like, same things Foster Moreau does, that you wouldn't expect a guy that big to be able to make, and it just makes the defender look stupid. Yeah. And dude, that last touchdown was great. I'm going to throw a name out at you, and I've been following him since his college days, and he's recently released Everson Griffin.
That's interesting.
He'd be our third best defensive end.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right off, right out. No, there's no maybe about it. He would be our third best defensive end.
Yeah.
You have Solomon Thomas at the kind of the bottom of the pecking order of the defensive tackles. I don't see him making that big of an impact. He really didn't make that big of an impact in the preseason.
Yeah.
What do you think about switching the tables to 5 defensive ends and 4 D tackles? I suppose right now we have 4 defensive ends and 5 D tackles.
So we have 5 defensive ends and 5 defense tackles.
That's right. Kuntz.
Yeah. So that's an interesting point. I don't know if we have the cap to bring him in. And I will say this, Carl Nassib, I believe his contract's guaranteed. I think he's making like $6 or $7 million this year. So we cannot move on from him. But I will say, if we were able to move on from Carl Nassib doesn't bring anything special, right? Like, Nassib's maybe, I would say that Cleveland Farrell's probably a better pass rusher than Nassib. And Cleveland Farrell kind of struggles with pass rushing, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what Nassib brings for the Raiders. I think after this year, he's gone. And I don't know if we have the cap. Now, obviously, like, you can sign anyone, right? And then just guarantee money in the future.
Figure it out, yeah.
Yeah, you can make it work. I just don't know how.
It's not really the Raiders' way. They're pretty disciplined about not getting in. They'll sign the wrong guys for too much money, but they don't, like, rob Peter to pay Paul down the line. Guys, yeah, they don't do that.
Another thing is like, I almost feel like Mike Mayock and John Gruden want Cleveland Farrell to work, and then getting someone like Griffin, you're kind of pushing Cleveland Farrell even further back. They don't want Farrell to be a bust, even though that's kind of what it's trending towards. Even though he can be a good football player, he is trending towards a bust, right? He's not worth the 4th overall pick. But I feel like Mike Mayock and Gruden are going to give him every opportunity. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, I don't think we're going to get Griffin. I would love it. It'd be great for the defense because, let's face it, the biggest pickup of this offseason outside of Gus Bradley is Gerald McCoy, right? Gerald McCoy dominated the San Francisco 49ers. He dominated them. And the thing is McCoy is a potential future Hall of Fame football player. He has 60 sacks in the league from the defensive tackle spot. Like, that's not typical. Like, defensive tackles, like Solomon Thomas has like 3 sacks his whole entire career. He's like in his 5th year or something, right? And McCoy has 60 career sacks. I think 59.5 or something like that. Again, I think this Raiders defensive line is going to be different this year. I really think it's going to be different.
Yeah, I said it when they signed him. I said if he's anything like his last healthy year with the Panthers, he's going to be our best D tackle and maybe even our best defensive lineman, because he got hurt 1 year. His only time he'd been hurt his entire career. It happens. Yep. I said it last week. Guys get hurt, man. It happens. It doesn't mean he's washed up. Yep. He came back in shape. He came back, and he was every single snap. He was in the backfield. Absolutely. Every single one. And as much as we like to have these edge rushers, a lot of these guys kick inside on passing downs, and the pressure now is up the middle. It's getting in the quarterback's face, and that's where you see a lot of these pass rushers be able to do that. So if McCoy, if he can do that with us, oh man, that's going to be a big boost.
Yeah, and who do you double team now? Like Jim McCoy, you can't block him one-on-one. Like you have to slide towards him, you have to chip, you have to get something with him. Jonathan Hankins doesn't bring a lot pass rushing wise, but Jonathan Hankins can push someone back, right? Like he'll collapse the pocket. You can't. Do you double Unique? Do you double Crosby? Like where's the double coming? Right. I think the Raiders' defensive line is. And again, I'm a little bit more optimistic. I think we're going to have a top 10 defensive line unit.
Wow. You heard it here.
I spent this entire off season like reminding myself, like, all right, Gus Bradley's in. We use this draft pick. We signed this free agent. Yannick Ngakoue's here. It's like, all right, it's still the Raiders defense. It's always going to suck. Just have it average suck. Just be a normal sucky defense and I'll be happy, right? Be the 20th best defense in football. I'll be happy. You might be onto something, man, with this defensive line. And that's exactly how every Gus Bradley defense flourishes, is a really, really good defensive line, gets pressure without blitzing, and let your DBs just like hang back and, let some loose balls come your way and get some picks. Like that's the foundation of what Gus Bradley's trying to do. And again, tempering the expectations, but it looks like he's on his way.
We're all wondering about that the last time you were on too. How is Bradley going to get pressure with the four that we have? Yeah, interior. Who we can, and then we got McCoy, and we didn't know what we had in McCoy because the last time we saw him on the field, he was getting carted off, and it's what was it, a quad injury or something like that?
Yeah, I think it was a quad injury.
So yeah, he looked really good, and it's now it's starting to fall into place.
Yeah, and another interesting thing is I talked to a beat writer that is at camp. He watches every single practice. I talked to him about the joint practice against the Rams. Keep in mind, Gerald McCoy did not play. And this guy told me that the Raiders defense got the best of the Rams offense. Like if it was a full game, the Raiders would have won because their defense was beating the Rams first string. The Raiders were winning. And that was without Gerald McCoy. And that was with Nick Morrow getting hurt. And we really didn't have a replacement for him at that time. I think Gus Bradley's he's going to do something different for this defense. And people always talk about how, his defense is a cover three every single play. I've watched all the plays from the defensive side of the ball, and it's not just a cover three. Oh. Like, on one play, he'll have the slot corner drop back 4 yards. On the next play, he'll drop back 12 yards. And then, just that right away is going to confuse the offense. And then he'll have one side of the field playing man-to-man coverage and the other side playing like a cover two, right? Or he'll mix it up, and it's not just a cover three. He might show a cover three, but he'll run something completely different once the play actually starts.
Yeah, it's the cover three shell look is what he has.
Yeah.
But what they run underneath it varies. And that's why I noticed that too is, like Robertson, when he dropped back maybe like 4 or 5 yards, the linebackers rotated and floated the other direction. And it's like you had that almost like a shallow zone underneath. And the quarterback's like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
I didn't see any of that happening in the pre-snap look. So it's encouraging. It's encouraging for sure. And that was a more vanilla look defense that we're going to get on Sundays or Monday night. And Mr. Jackson's been known to float a couple balls here and there when he's not really too sure where to go, when he's getting a lot of pressure, and hopefully we could keep him corralled. But yeah, and it's looking good for us because they don't have a running back in Baltimore.
No, you know what's crazy is, do you guys think the Ravens are better this year or worse this year?
Well, with no Dobbins, I think they're not as good offensively.
They also traded away Orlando Brown Jr. They lost 2 pass rushers, right? I think they lost Matt Judon to the Patriots, and then they lost obviously Unique to the Raiders. And I know they took They took a pass rush in the first round, but that's a rookie pass rusher, right? He's going to be going up against Colton Miller. At the same time, he'll go up against Alex Leatherwood. I think the Ravens are a worse team this year, man. I don't think they're better. I think our defensive line is going to kick their offensive line's ass. And I think that's going to be the difference in the game.
Yeah, that defensive line with McCoy is something special. I used to say that Darren Waller's, $7 million a year contract was the best value in football, definitely the best value on the Raiders.
McCoy
at $1.25 million.
Crazy.
$1.25 million.
If he plays
highway
well,
robbery.
Absolutely.
week 7,
Wow.
week 8. Hey, Gerald, please, Mr. McCoy, sit down. We're thinking about the next couple of years. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think he's 32, right? I believe he's 32.
Yeah, he's 32.
33.
Yeah.
I mean, he still has a couple years left. He's a defensive lineman. He's not a running back. He's not a wide receiver, right?
He's
can
still
slow down.
quick, man. He's still
quick.
super quick.
Yeah.
He was compared to Warren Sapp coming out of college.
Mm-hmm.
And God damn, did he look like Warren Sapp last week?
He was explosive, man. And it's not just like he played against backups. He beat the Niners first stringers too.
He played the entire game, and he was the best defensive player. He was the best defensive player on
lived in that backfield.
Yeah.
You brought up running backs. What the hell is our running back room going to look like throughout this season? Because you got obviously Josh Jacobs, Kenyon Drake, and then the number 3 or 4 guy, it's Jalen Richard injured. I still am shocked he's still on the roster this long, considering he's making more than the starting running back, which
Yeah.
as much as he's like the locker room loves him, great pass blocker, all those things.
return guy.
Return guy. Like he's I don't want to see him go, but like Trey Regis ran pretty decent this preseason, super cheap. Like, what do you think is going to happen there with that 3rd or 4th spot in the running back room?
So yeah, I think short term, Richard hits the short term IR. He'll be out 3 to 6 weeks. We'll see when he's healthy to come back. And then I think Trey Regis ends up being the number 3 running back. I think BJ Emmons, who is also signed to the practice squad, I think he'll stay on the practice squad. He didn't look as explosive as Regis. But I am surprised as well. I don't know. I don't see the point of bringing back Jalen Richard. At the same time, what does Jalen Richard bring for the Raiders? Like, he's a good pass blocker, which I'll give him. But Trey Regis showed that he can pass block as well. Trey Regis is cheaper. Now, I would say the only reason the Raiders, or I would say a potential for the reason why the Raiders have kept him around, maybe they can't cut him because he's hurt. Maybe he has something in his contract. Maybe they'd have to pay him more money or something. I don't know. I don't know exactly what it is as to why they kept him around, but I think the Raiders should move on from him. I think, Josh and Kenyon Drake are going to get most of the touches, most of the snaps. Even last year, how much did Richard really play? He played like 4 or 5 snaps a game, if that.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they were going to trade him, they would have done it already too, like, I don't know. Maybe they're waiting until early, like as the season rolls on and some team's running back room gets injury after injury and they move on from him and trade him there, something like that. I don't know if that's just what I'm wondering is how much value do you have in a $3.5 million 3rd string running back?
Yeah.
Although he is good, right?
He is still a good football player for sure. That's a good point. I didn't really think about it. Maybe the Raiders do want to trade him. The Raiders could always eat $2 million of his cap and then trade him. And so a team gets a team-friendly contracted running back that can pass block. And I think that's one thing that we can't underestimate. Pass blocking on 3rd downs is such an important part. Running backs don't want to pass block, right? Running backs don't want to take a linebacker coming full speed at them or a defensive end. That's not what they want to do, but maybe he brings a little bit because let's face it, right? You can get a running back from college right now, any running back, and you can put them in and chances are they'll be a pretty good running back. Yeah. There's a lot of free agent running backs out there. Obviously, I would say the difference between Richard is he's a good pass blocker. He's a good 3rd down running back from pass blocking and potentially making catches and, picking up some yards.
Calling it right now. Monday Night Football, season opener for the Raiders. The Raiders hold the Ravens to 60 yards rushing. Tuesday, they trade for Jalen Richard to up the running back room. That's what I'm hoping for right there.
That would be crazy. I should have looked into it. I don't know if the Ravens picked up any running backs.
I don't think so. I looked at that.
So who are they rolling with? Is it Gus Edwards? And then
Gus Edwards is like the main guy.
Okay.
Let me take a look real quick.
Gus Edwards a big guy too. Like he's a power back.
He's steady, but he's not quick and he's not explosive.
He's not explosive. That's the thing. So I don't know, man. I say it like even then, like who do the Ravens have from the receiving group, bro. Like, what receiver is going to beat like Mark? What is it? Hollywood Brown, and then I think they picked up Sammy Watkins as well. Are those guys going? Are those guys going to beat Mullen and Hayward, and are they going to be able to get deep? It's gonna be interesting, man. It's gonna be
the thing is, against the Bradley defense, you need to be precise as a route runner to get open. Yeah. If you're just gonna be a speed burner guy, you're not gonna get open. You're not gonna find hole. You're not gonna be able to set up the defense the way you need to in order to be able to fool them. Tyson Williams, a running back. Who else we got here?
So the cupboards are pretty bare.
Pretty bare, man. I'm not seeing too much.
Give us a fifth rounder. We'll
Justice Hill.
Hill's a good running back. I think he was a rookie last year. I think he's from Oklahoma. I don't know. It's probably my memory's kind of.
That's it.
He's a pretty good running back. I think Hill would be the guy that would take over for the Ravens. He was pretty good last year too. I think or was it Dobbins that was a rookie last year? I think Hill's gonna be a good running back. I think he'll be the one to get. If you're in fantasy football, I think Hill's the guy.
How concerned are you, if at all, or have you even thought about all these executives leaving the Raiders? And it's just like the silence. There's a report that there's an IRS issue. It's like, part of me wants to say, like, okay, that's the front office. That has nothing to do with what's on the field. But an organization runs from the top down, right? I don't know. How much have you been following that, and how much is that like an issue with you?
Yeah. So when it first happened, so when Badane first announced his, I'm going to step away from the team, I didn't think much of it. But then we had the controller of the team. We had the who else was
CFO.
The CFO. But it was people in the finance, realm of things. And if you guys don't know, I went to school for accounting. I got my bachelor's degree in accounting, as well as finance. I double majored. So I know all about that industry. I work in that industry as well. So when I see a controller resigning, a CFO, to me, and the second it happened, I have a Slack chat with the staff members from the Las Vegas Chronicle. The first thing I told them is there's probably an accounting issue. There's probably fraud, something around that. So when it actually got announced, that's exactly what it was. It made perfect sense, right? The controller is a certified CPA, right? Chances are something happened there. And if you're a CPA, you're not going to commit fraud, right? You would lose your CPA license. That's so hard to get already. You spend years getting that. So I don't think it's fraud. I think more likely, I heard something about the fact that they overpaid taxes, which is fine. Just let the IRS know and get your money back. And I don't know how long that process takes, but it makes sense that that's why they stepped away. Something related to that. And I would say it's not a big deal. It does not impact us at all. Some people are saying, oh, Mark Davis is going broke, but here he is buying the Aces. He's buying a new house, right?
$14 million house.
I don't think he's going broke. I think he's perfectly fine. And which is interesting because they also said that's why we got rid of Rodney Hudson and Gabe Jackson, is because Mark Davis couldn't afford it from a cash perspective. I don't think that's the case, man.
Did you send your resume to the Raiders when you found out all these finance jobs are open?
I should have, but I don't think I can make that move to Vegas at the moment.
Okay.
All
right, Sanjit, this is awesome. I'm sure you're gonna want to get back into the stream of things, because literally as this show happened, I'm sure moves got made, practice squad changed, people are moving around. Very fun time. Sanjit, one of the hardest working guys.
Thanks, Sanjit,
covering the Raiders. Thanks for coming on, man. We really appreciate it.
Well, I really appreciate both you guys having me on. It's always fun, and I look forward. Hit me up more often, man. I work from home, so I'll come on, every month, twice a month, whatever you guys need, man. I really enjoy talking to you guys. You guys do a great
Careful what
job.
You wish for. We're going to start showing up at your house. Being like, all right, we're moving in. We're doing the podcast here.
You see Sanjit's face, and then you see me coming in. Hey, what's up, RJ?
Hey, Windbags, if you want Darren Waller to catch 20 touchdown passes this season, don't be afraid to click those subscribe, like, share, and comment buttons. Plus, your comment could be featured in the next What Up, Windbags?